Hi guys, I'm Talisa with Talisa Aquarist, and today I wanted to give some quick beginner tips for axolotl care. A few of you guys have been asking me. I recently got an axolotl. I did a lot of research before getting her, and I just wanted to give some tips. Just basic axolotl care. If you've been caring for axolotls for years, you probably already know everything I'm about to tell you. This is just for beginners, and if you guys have any other beginner tips, I would love to hear that down in the comments. The first tip I would like to give you guys is to keep your tank cool. Axolotls need to be kept at 65 degrees or cooler. Cooler than 65 degrees is always better. Let's look at the temperature on the tank right now. Sometimes it gets a little warm. It's right at 64 degrees right now. It typically doesn't get above 65 ever. I have a fan blowing, it's on high, it's blowing across the surface of the water so that all that heat evaporates out more quickly and keeps it cooler. Axolotls are native to the mountains in Mexico. They don't really inhabit the mountains in Mexico anymore. They've gone extinct. They're mostly just kept as pets in aquariums and stuff. But they are native to mountains, so that is why you must keep their tank so cool. You don't want it to get too warm or they can become very uncomfortable. Their appetite can decrease and they just won't be healthy. So first tip is keep their tank very cool. The cooler the better. Another tip I would give to keep it cool is keep it away from any sunny windows. Don't keep it by your heater, your AC duct vent. You can maybe keep it by an AC during the summer, but it might be inconvenient to move it during the winter so that warm heat isn't coming up, by the tank. And my second tip would be the size of tank you keep your axolotl in. A lot of people recommend a 20-gallon long. It's a good size for them for their entire lifespan. If you want to keep more than one axolotl, they would say do 40 gallons. Honestly, I don't see why you couldn't keep one axolotl in a 40-gallon. She's in a 20-gallon long, and because she doesn't move around a whole lot, she doesn't necessarily need more space, but I don't know, I wouldn't mind upgrading her to a 40-gallon tank in the future. I have this 20-gallon long on this tank stand. I got it from Petco, and it is for a 29-gallon, but it also works great for 20-gallon longs. I got her own standalone shelf to set the tank on because the rest of my fish are tropical fish and need to be kept at warmer temperatures, so she's just not kept with those tanks because it's warmer over in that area and I need to keep this little corner over here a little bit cooler. So I would go with a 20-gallon long tank. Even if your axolotl's a baby, I would still do a 20-gallon long tank. And that brings us to the next thing, is setting up your tank. The next tip anyway, tip 3, would be setting up your tank. You want to set it up in such a way that the axolotl's comfortable in it, it doesn't get hurt. So here's a cave that she can go into, and there's no sharp edges in the cave. Axolotls are kind of dumb and they hurt themselves a lot. So no sharp edges in the tank whatsoever. No rocks that are smaller than their mouth or their head, really, because they will try to swallow the rock and it could get impacted and kill them because they wouldn't be able to digest their food properly because they would have a rock in their stomach. Fourth tip is no substrate. I know this is a bit controversial, but I am not comfortable keeping substrate in an axolotl tank. Some of you guys are, that's great. Some of you guys keep axolotls on sand with no impaction. I'm just afraid that my axolotl would just swallow enough sand on a regular enough basis that she would over time become impacted. Maybe that wouldn't be the case, but I just don't want to chance it. So you'll notice that all the plants in this aquarium are glued or strapped down to large rocks that she cannot swallow. You'll also notice that the rocks do not have sharp edges. This rock right here is a little bit sharp, but I feel like it's covered enough by a plant and it's small enough. She hasn't hurt herself on it. If she does, I will take the plant off that rock. It's not super sharp. It's just not completely round and smooth like these river rocks that I have in here. Another cool thing you could do with plants is you can put plants like pothos and peace lilies in little boxes. I got this from Amazon. It was designed for this. You can just hook it on the side and the roots will grow into the aquarium and feed off the nutrients in the water, and you can have a neat plant at the top of the tank. So that's another neat idea for axolotl tanks, just because you can't keep a whole lot of plants in there that they won't either root up or break off or something. You know, they can be kind of rough with plants. So far she hasn't broken any of her plants though. I also have a sponge filter in the tank. This also helps keep the water cooler because it just creates more air movement throughout the water, whereas like a hang on the back filter is not going to create a whole lot of movement in the water. So sponge filters, that's the word I'm looking for. Sponge filters are a great option for an axolotl tank, I think, anyway. So far we've talked about keeping your tank cool, excuse me, keeping your tank cool and the size of tank and what to keep in the tank with the axolotl. And the last thing that we should be talking about is, what do you feed your axolotl? If your axolotl is a baby, you can feed it black worms that you can grow yourself. You can feed it bloodworms. I am currently feeding my axolotl bloodworms. But when your axolotl is no longer a baby, you can start feeding them like earthworms and night crawlers. You can just buy them from pretty much any store that would sell stuff for fishing. Right now I am feeding squishy bloodworms, but she is big enough to be eating like earthworms and night crawlers. So I do plan to go buy those for her soon. Because it is winter and I've not ever bought worms in the winter before, I don't know if I would be able to find them as easily. I should probably just go hunt down some worms at a store and start feeding those to her, but she's happy eating bloodworms. And another thing is, how often should you feed your axolotl? When they're a baby, you should be giving them small worms, you know, the bloodworms or black worms, every day. Honestly, I don't know if it would hurt them if you fed them more than once a day. They're babies, they're growing. As adults, they will just gorge themselves. You don't want to feed them every day. I would feed them every other day or about 3 times a week. That's the schedule I have my other fish on. So if I were you, I would give your axolotl a worm on like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or you know, something similar, and just keep it simple, and they will thrive with that. One more thing I almost forgot to mention was lighting. A tip for lighting is to not have a very bright big light. You'll notice I have a relatively small light for how long the tank is, and that makes the corners a little darker, and you'll notice she's more active over here in this corner where there is not as much light. Now, I wouldn't say that she hates the light, because she comes and like sits on this rock right here and just sits there while the light is on. She doesn't seem to mind. She isn't always hiding in her cave trying to get away from the light. But I do have plants in here that need very little light, and I have no substrate, so I could grow algae in here pretty quickly. So I do try to keep the light off a lot less than my other tanks, and it seems to work out great. If you are thinking about getting an axolotl, I hope this video was helpful for you. And do I think axolotls make great pets? Yes, I personally do. Obviously, they're not as personable as a dog or a cat or something like that, but as far as like in the fish world, I have found my axolotl to be personable. She's very cute. She always comes to the front to say hi to me. Sometimes she doesn't if I have my phone. Like today, she was just kind of keeping to herself. But she'll come up and say hi if I don't have a phone right in her face. But sometimes she doesn't mind the phone, you know. I think they're very cute. She seems personable. I wasn't expecting her to be that personable. I was told the axolotls just kind of like hide all day and don't really do much. But she's fairly active, which is why I think axolotls could use a tank that's bigger than a 20-gallon long. Now, do I think that she needs a bigger tank? No, but I do think she would utilize a larger tank, so I'm not opposed to getting her a larger one in the future. Not anytime soon. I just barely got her. I'm still figuring some stuff out for proper care as well. But I hope this was helpful, and if any of you pros out there who've had axolotls for years feel like I've left out some helpful advice, please drop it down in the comments. And if there was questions that I left unanswered for you beginners that you need to know, please ask them down in the comments, and I would be happy to answer those. If I don't know the question, I will go and do research. But most likely I know the question, or know the answer to that question, because I did do quite a bit of research. Another tip I would give before getting your axolotl is do lots of research. Don't just go get them and wing it. Axolotls are very unique, and their care is very unique. So definitely do your research. Thank you guys for watching.